Terry Franklin Turner. So take a good look here. Convicted felon, active arrest warrant for possession of a gun by a convicted felon. This is all according to the department. So deputies responded to calls regarding a male entering erratically. They said carrying a rifle the day after Christmas. Witnesses reported seeing the individual firing the weapon and even chasing wildlife. So they have not been able to locate him. He's been reported on foot in various areas, including Nugget Lane, Pebble Court, Woodridge and Oak Ridge, Cameron Drive, Tails Creek Road, Highway 282 corridor as well. So they're saying if you've seen this man, if you recognize him, again, this is Terry Franklin Turner. They say don't approach him, but give them a call and be sure to call 911 if you've seen him. And they remind you too that if you have helped him, then you can be charged as well. Well, switching gears, right now, a preliminary hearing is underway for the man accused of murdering a father at a Bojangles. It was the father of one of his coworkers, and that preliminary hearing is underway right now. So police are saying team manager Maurice Evans gunned down Dominique Goodwin after some kind of altercation. So joining us now to break down some of what we're expecting today, we've got our Angelique Proctor live for us. Angelique?
Well, good morning to you, Elise. This is a preliminary hearing where you normally hear a lot of details about what police are saying actually happened, and that is exactly what we heard this morning. In fact, the hearing is still going on. This was a shooting at the Bojangles restaurant that you mentioned. Now, an APD detective is sharing video that we believe is being seen for the very first time, and this is video of a very heated argument between shift manager Maurice Evans and one of his employees, Amari Goodman. First, over a drive-through window being open. They said it was very cold. She wanted it closed, and then over cross-contamination. Apparently, the defendant was accusing her of mixing hot and cold food. So lots of different disputes there. And then the video inside the restaurant actually shows the arguments, and they were pretty intense. At some point, Goodman says she would call her father and ended up inadvertently calling him. Ultimately, Mr. Goodman, her father, Dominique Goodman, did show up, but he was not armed. At that time, the defendant and his wife were in their car outside of the restaurant because it was just about time for them to leave. The detective then said there were two witnesses to this deadly shooting. Listen now as she describes what one of the witnesses said happened that day.
She hears gunshots. She said she heard two, and then she turns, and then she heard 5 total is what she said. She's turning, and Mr. Evans is outside of the vehicle as she's trying to run towards Mr. Goodman's aid, and stated that she saw Mr. Evans standing over Mr. Goodman and shot him 3 additional times.
Okay. Now, did you hear Mr. Evans say anything while he was shooting, or in the immediate aftermath of the shooting?
It was stated that Mr. Evans had made some sort of a phone call on his cell phone and stated that he had never shot an N-word before, and almost as if he was boasting about it.
Was it after the shooting?
Right after.
The shell casings recovered at the scene, were they consistent with the firearms in which they were discharged and moving? In other words, did they follow a trail outside the vehicle?
That is correct.
Okay, how about the projectiles that you said spent? Projectile being a fire bullet, correct?
Right. Pieces of projectile were collected and photographed. Not all of some were inside Mr. Goodman's body still, and were later recovered by the medical examiner's office. But yes, there was shell casings consistent with starting from the passenger window, and then it's showing how it kind of follows Mr. Goodman as he was retreating. It appeared that he was retreating, especially when his body fell at the front of the Jeep and not right at the passenger window. The shell casings basically started from the passenger window and then kept going around the front of the vehicle, the right-hand side, and then there were shell casings where the body lay, where Mr. Goodman's body lay.
The projectiles, did they reveal anything about the position of the firearm's muzzle at the time that the shot was fired?
No.
Okay. So, Ms. Cooper, was that the extent of her statement then?
Yes.
Now, were there any other witnesses that bore witness to the homicide as she did?
Amari, who was his daughter, who was working at the Bojangles that day, she was also present.
Okay. What did she tell you?
She stated that she was standing directly behind her father, kind of a little bit back though, but she was right there with him. She stated during her interview, she stated that she thought that Mr. Evans was going to shoot her. Instead, he shot her father, Mr. Goodman.
So where was she when Mr. Evans fired the shots?
She was standing behind her father, and then she ended up running to the dumpster.
She was within the line of fire then? Did she describe it that way?
Yes.
So we heard there that Amari Goodman was in the line of fire and thought that she was going to be shot. All of these details are very important because Mr. Evans says he fired in self-defense that day. Evans is facing 5 counts of murder, felony murder, 2 counts of aggravated assault, and possession of a firearm during a felony. And one of those assault charges is in response to Amari herself because she was in the line of fire and ran from where the shooting took place. So the defendant in this case, Mr. Evans, would like to get bond today. We will continue to follow all of these details and have the very latest for you as the case continues. That is the very latest in downtown. Angelique Proctor, Fox News.
Angelique, we appreciate you breaking that down for us. Thank you so much for that. Well, switching gears now, it's something you might have seen here or maybe on social media if you follow their account. We're talking about that group of Buddhist monks. They're on a 2,300-mile walk for peace is what they're calling it, and they're taking that journey to DeKalb County today. So let's check in now with our Ray Urena. He's joining us in Decatur with the latest, expecting a big crowd out there and some traffic closures to go along with it. So, Ray, good morning to you.
Good morning. We are actually right now in Clayton County at the police precinct, and right behind me is Anvil Block Road. And just a few minutes ago, the monks just walked past our location, and along both sides of the road, there were dozens and dozens of supporters just cheering them on as they continued their walk from Morrow today into Decatur, where there is scheduled to be a peace gathering later this afternoon. And like you said, the monks have been traveling for days and months on end at this point, starting their journey in Fort Worth, Texas, before up in Washington, D.C. Some of the video that we just shot a little bit ago, actually about in the last 20 minutes or so, of the monks walking along Boulder Crest Road here in Clayton County, and they're going to be walking into DeKalb County. Now, DeKalb County says that the monks will be walking along these roadways, those being Boulder Crest Road, Panthersville Road, Flat Shoals Road, and Candler Road as they make their way into Decatur. They will have a midday stop today at noon for some lunch before heading to that peace gathering in Decatur at the municipal complex. That will be at 3 o'clock, and there's going to be a variety of speakers out there, including U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock and City of Decatur Mayor Patty Garrett. Now, along the way, we were able to talk to a few bystanders that were out here on Anvil Block Road, and one of the monks, and this is a touching moment, one of the passerbys actually extended her newborn baby out to these monks, and these monks, each and every single one of them, blessed that baby as they were walking through along with their pup. And you just saw lines of cars, just one after another after another after another, lined across the roadway, just supporting these monks. And I talked to one of the bystanders just a little bit ago, and you'll hear from her coming up at noon. But she said that if these monks are able to walk for miles and miles on end in all these weather conditions, it is very cold outside right now. It was about 30-something degrees this morning when the monks walked past us. She says that if they're able to walk this large distance for months on end, that she could spend spare being called for a few minutes to come and support them. And again, this is such a story that has caught the hearts and minds of people across social media, not only in our area, but across the nation. And these monks are expected to arrive in Washington, D.C. We're going to continue following their journey today, and we'll report back later on. But for now, reporting live in Clayton County, Ray Arena, Fox 5 News.
Yeah, been pretty incredible to see, Ray, and now they're going to be right here in our backyard. So we appreciate you being on top of this, Ray. Thank you so much for that. Let's get to some local headlines that we are on top of for you right now. I'm going to start with this one. Police have identified the man and the woman that were found at a home in Virginia Highland. You might have heard about this over the weekend. They say the deceased, Kevin Stroner, 56, Mariah Cardona, 44. Now, according to Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office, Cardona's manner of death was listed as homicide. Stroner's was listed as suicide. They said that both of them died from gunshot wounds. So they were found dead in what police are calling an isolated incident that happened there at the home. This is on Coolidge Avenue, again in the Virginia Highland neighborhood of Atlanta. Property records show that Stroner did own the home. Now, police are saying there's no threat to the public, no outstanding suspects in this situation, but they have not released just yet what led up to the shooting and the details surrounding that. But here's what we do know about this and what they have said. Public records are showing that Stroner was an investigator with APD, joined the force actually as a second career about 13 years ago, so spent the last 13 years on the force, received a commendation on the department's Facebook page for an arrest that was made back in 2020, and another one as well for a robbery in progress. So by all accounts was great at his job and had received some recognition from the department on that. So here's what's next in all of this. The Fulton County Medical Examiner's Office will determine a cause of death for both of these individuals officially in releasing that to the public. APD says it is offering some counseling to officers who are grieving that loss. So again, police have identified the man and the woman that were found at that home in Virginia Highland. Moving on to this one now, Cobb County Police are saying that a Venmo scam of sorts is getting people, helping them lose money. So Cobb County Police are saying a 17-year-old is actually accused of scamming the woman that you see right there on your screen, saying that he was collecting donations for his basketball team, but it's not exactly what happened here. So here's what we know about it. Investigators are saying the teen, identified as Antrez Jenkins, stood in the intersection there, Johnson Ferry Road and Lower Roswell Road, asking for a $1 donation. So when the woman stopped, opened up her payment app to send money, police say he would grab the phone and then transfer much larger amounts before returning the phone. So investigators are saying this is the same scheme that has been reported there at that intersection before. One of the women that we spoke with says she lost $2,000 in this. Just tells you how quickly they're able to turn this around and take that large sum of money. They're saying there's probably more victims. They're saying if you were one of them, it's important that you come forward. So they're insisting and just reminding us that roadside solicitation itself is illegal under Georgia law. So this is not something anyone should be approaching you for. So just something to keep in mind. But the woman that you see there, that is Brenda Lasky. And she says this actually happened on Christmas Day. She was just trying to do a good deed. Ended up being tough for her. So she realized that $2,000 was gone. She contacted her bank. At first, they told her the money was probably lost, but now they're working with fraud detectives to try to get some of that money back. But $2,000 lost right there in just the blink of an eye. Again, police are advising anyone who wants to donate money to research that organization first and carefully confirm that they are legitimate. They're saying do not stop, hand anyone your phone if they're asking for donations, because we see what happened here. So a really important warning for us there. On to this one now. A man wanted for murders behind bars after a standoff at a hotel in Alpharetta. This was Monday morning. So police arrested Quintavious Malcolm at the Comfort Suites on Kingswood Drive after they say he barricaded himself inside of a hotel room while officers tried to serve a warrant. So they're saying they had to bring in some help for this. They had North Fulton SWAT and the FBI on hand to get all this done. So authorities are saying that, again, we're talking about Quintavious Malcolm. They're saying he's wanted in connection for the deadly shooting of a 30 49-year-old back in November 4th at Auburn Avenue in Northeast Atlanta. Fox 5 spoke with Malcolm's father, who said he worked with negotiators to try to speak with his son by phone, encouraged him to surrender so that no one would be hurt. He said his goal was to make sure his son was taken into custody safely. He also said his son had recently been released from prison. He denied that his son had any involvement in that murder, but he did acknowledge to authorities told him his son was wanted in connection with that homicide. So law enforcement were able to arrest Malcolm after that standoff ended. They are telling us he's facing multiple charges. Additional details about the case, though, have not been released just yet. Well, a Georgia judge on Monday ordered a temporary pause to a December execution that has already been put on hold. So here's what we know about this. The ruling in question here, it's about the clemency process, and they're saying that has to be resolved before Stacey Humphrey's death sentence can move forward. So Humphreys is 52. He had been scheduled to be executed December 17th, but that was halted just days before that was carried out. So taking a look at that order that was filed on Monday, a judge is saying that right now they have to first address concerns from Humphrey's attorneys about potential conflicts of interest on the parole board. They're saying that there are two people there who would decide his clemency who have a conflict of interest. So they're saying that needs to be resolved here first. The judge has ordered attorneys on both sides to file additional legal briefs by January 19th. So again, we're talking about Stacey Humphrey's set to be executed December 17th. That has now been pushed back pending a look into two of those people on the parole board. All right, our time is now, let's see here, 11:17 on this Tuesday morning, and we're talking about the frigid temperatures. If you haven't stepped outside today, it is cold. So we'll have the latest on that right after this. Forbes is joining us now. So, Alex, we're talking about the dangerously cold temperatures outside.
A wind chill this morning of 13 in Atlanta at its coldest. So It was chilly out there. Still continues to be cold now, predominantly cold today, but we started off so low this morning that even as we warm up, we're only getting into the low 40s, right? Yeah. It's still going to feel quite bitter no matter how you slice it. Up to 35 now in Atlanta, 30 in Canton, 33 over in Gainesville, and 27 in Blairsville. But let's factor in the wind here, and you're going to notice those wind chills. Even now at 11:20, we are at 25 in Atlanta, 21 in Canton, 28 in Eatonton. I don't expect these numbers to get much above freezing this afternoon, so it's going to feel like it's below freezing through much of the day today. Here's how it looks hour by hour for Metro Atlanta. The actual air temperature will briefly get into the low 40s, and that's important to note because in terms of pipes freezing and things like that, if we stayed below freezing, that's where that becomes a problem. But because the actual air temperature is coming up above that 32-degree mark, we're not too worried about it. But wind chills tonight dipping back down into the 20s. If you're not a fan, I do have good news for you. This is going to be short-lived. 52 tomorrow for New Year's Eve, 57 there on New Year's Day, before we're close to 60 each afternoon into the weekend. These overnight low temperatures coming up as well. Bottomed out at 25 this morning. Look at that. By Saturday, our low temperature will only be 50, but that, of course, is going to come with some showers as well. So counting down the days here. 2 days to New Year's, 20 days to MLK Day, and then I fight a rodent 34 days from now.
You what?
Tries to steal my job.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, when we trust the groundhog. Jeez,
Exactly.
It's all coming quickly.
Yep. Yeah. So, over the next couple of days, it will get gradually warmer, but it's going to remain mostly dry across north and central Georgia.
Which we also have to talk about that because what's something folks do for New Year's Eve, fireworks.
Yes. Yeah. So really today and then now through New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, we have, officially a red flag warning today, but these same conditions are going to be around for the next couple of days. It's because of the low humidity and the breezy conditions out there. And here's what's important to note. Outdoor burning is strongly discouraged. And if you have any plans to burn, say, a pile of leaves, brush, anything like that, check with your local municipality, your county, your city, because whenever a red flag warning like this is issued in many locations, there are burn bans in place. So there's a ton of municipalities in this area, so we can't go over all of them necessarily, but it is something to look into. But yeah, over the next couple of days, it's that dry vegetation. I mean, we're finishing the year more than 8 inches below average.
Well, actually, I was just looking at that. It says Georgia 2.5 inches below normal rainfall for the month, and then like you said, 8.5 inches below for the year.
Yeah, and this is after last year where we were almost a foot above average.
Wow.
So, in the grand scheme of things, the time is too long for it to average out. Right? We're still looking at moderate drought conditions across Metro Atlanta, but a large chunk of last year's rain came from Hurricane Helene, and we didn't have anything of that variety this fall. So fall typically a dry time period for us. Winter, not so much. We are abnormally dry, as you mentioned, 2.5 inches below normal. But all of that to say, right, there's going to be a lot of people in the market of burning things that aren't usually in the market of burning things Wednesday night. So keep an eye on those embers. I'm not saying don't light off the fireworks. Of course, have fun. But if you see one come down, make sure you lay eyes on it and keep an eye on it for a minute or two so you know that it doesn't ignite. And if something does ignite, it is going to be able to spread very, very quickly. I know we had an instance in Lumpkin County yesterday where actually it was the perfect combination of conditions. The strong winds knocked over a tree onto a power line, and the power line fell on dry brush, and it ignited up there.
Wow, that's what did it, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good reminder to have that bucket of water, something that you can put these
fire extinguisher.
And it's so interesting too because I feel like this time of year when it's so cold right now, the last thing we're thinking about would be, conditions not favorable for burning things. But
and it's not just fireworks. Maybe you're outside watching a fireworks show, but you got a little space heater with you. You get something catching on fire with that, you're going to run into problems as well.
That is a good reminder for us and good to know.
Yep.
Alex Forbes, thank you so much. We appreciate that. Okay, I guess we should mention, too, if you're in Milton, you need to stick around because there's something you need to know if you were planning to shoot off fireworks. We'll have that for you in 2 minutes. Welcome back, everyone. All right, the city of Milton has a new ordinance that's in place. They're saying no fireworks within 200 yards of horses. And if you know anything about that community, you know there are a lot of horses up there, horse farms in Milton. So the ordinance actually started July 4th of this year, which means, of course, it's in effect for New Year's Eve as well. So joining us now, we've got Chris Rosenthal. He is live for us in Milton with what we need to know. So this is very important to know about, Chris. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. I'm actually joined here by, I got Bullet here behind me, one of the many horses here in the Milton community. Yeah, like you mentioned, this ordinance went into effect July 1st, so coincided with the July 4th holiday, but carries on all throughout the year. So it's a good time to remind people for New Year's Eve as we go into it that no fireworks are allowed within 200 yards of any property where there are horses. And one of the people that was kind of instrumental in getting that ordinance passed here is Tony Rich. He is with the equestrian committee here in the city of Milton. And first of all, just set the scene for me. How big and integral are horses to this community up here for people who maybe haven't been up here before?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. We have almost 250 active horse farms in the city of Milton, and so the equestrian community, the equestrian heritage, is a very distinctive part of what makes Milton a place to live. And so there are horses everywhere, and we're really excited about it.
And with horses everywhere, it makes important this new ordinance that you guys have. And talk to me about the dangers of fireworks being too close to these horses.
Sure, I'm happy to do that. The conversation of horses and fireworks is one that's been going on for a long time, ever since my family and I moved here almost 10 years ago. And as a general rule, horses can be afraid of almost anything. And so because of that, with the modern fireworks that we see in this day and age, horses have a tendency to run, to spook at almost anything, and these fireworks can really cause some erratic and dangerous behavior with horses.
They can also cause problems for the barns, and we can show even here. What? Talk to me about the dangers there.
Most things inside of a barn are flammable. Horses eat hay, and most stalls are covered in wood shavings, and literally one spark in the wrong place could cause a fire. Which is an absolute nightmare that all barn and farm owners worry about, and so it's something that we give a lot of thought to trying to prevent.
We could walk over here, show some of the property over here. You were talking about this earlier, just the dangers. These horses get spooked, they get away, they can break through these fences, huh?
People have an idea that these fences can literally keep a horse from breaking out. But horses weigh well over half a ton, and if a horse really wants to go through a four-board fence, it could do that without a lot of effort. And so, fireworks in the wrong place at the wrong time, and if the horse is particularly spooky, it could run through a fence and head into traffic, and that would be a bad day.
And talking about sparks, talk about the fires. You said you even heard some people complaining about some issues with some sparks.
Sure. I sit on our Milton Equestrian Committee. We're a group of volunteers that represent the city on all matters equestrian related. And we had a citizen come to one of our meetings last year after a holiday, and she literally had sparks from fireworks falling on her barn the night of the holiday. And she and her family were out there with the garden hose and the fire extinguishers, and the sparks were raining down on the barn. And she was terrified that it was going to catch on fire. So that is something. Barn fires are bad news. Whenever they happen, they are catastrophic.
And Steve, this is Steve Krokoff. He's the city manager here in Milton. Talk to me about the process getting this ordinance.
So thank you, Chris. We're very fortunate. Speaker Pro Tem Jan Jones is also a Milton resident, and she has championed many of our things we've needed over the years, and this was one of her many successes. She championed this through the 2025 session, and the fireworks code at the state level is preemptive in some manners. And what this did is it allows local cities to enact local ordinances like this one that can better protect the equestrian community and the horses they have.
Gotcha. And, people are, some people may not be aware if they want to light off fireworks. How do they know? What are some of the ways? I see we got these signs here we can show. But what are some of the ways that people can know whether or not they're in a safe or unsafe area doing this?
So some of it is fairly logic driven. If you see horses within a contained area like you just showed, Chris, that would be a great example. And nowhere within 200 yards of any part of that property can fireworks be ignited. Also, like the signs you're seeing right now, we hand those out to our residents. They put them on their properties, and that reminds people as they come through the neighborhood, this is an area where we have horse farms.
Yeah, and then there's other signage, social media, and everything else that people want to.
Social media, our web page. There's signage throughout the city on variable message boards and the like.
Gotcha. And to be clear, fireworks all in all are not banned. Just within 200 yards. It's of the property line.
That's correct. It's just within 200 yards of the enclosed areas that have horses. And no, it's not citywide, but we do have a significant number of horse farms throughout the city.
What's the reaction been from the public?
Positive, and not just from the horse farm owners. A lot of people come to the city of Milton because of the horse farms that exist here, and they don't want to jeopardize the safety of the horses either.
Awesome. Well, guys, thanks for sharing this information. Thanks for sharing the horses with us.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful day even though it's a little cold, it's a beautiful day to be out here with them. And I was listening to Alex earlier talk about it being a red flag day. It is pretty dry, so that just amplifies that risk of the barn fires, even more. And so again, this is a new ordinance out here. Up to $1,000 penalty. But hopefully it doesn't.
Certainly noteworthy and important to know if you are in Milton. So, Chris, thank you so much. Good to see some of those horses up there with you as well. We appreciate it. Okay, Christmas is over, but for a lot of shoppers out there, it means that holidays aren't really done until you get those returns made. Maybe it's the clothes that don't fit or just the gifts that missed the mark, weren't quite right. But unwanted items are now heading back to where they came from.
No returns. Don't like the traffic. I'd rather keep the items and return them. There's always somebody that might need something that you got, and it's always great to give.
Oh, I was at Kate Spade and did one of each. A return that was too big, and I got a smaller item. And now we're going to go look for some black boots.
It looked pretty crowded out there with her, too. National Retail Federation says free returns still matter to shoppers. In fact, more than 80% say it actually influences where they buy if they know they'll be able to take those returns back. But behind the scenes, retailers are tightening their policies in a really big way. This is something you might notice this year as you're making those returns. They say it's due to rising costs and to abuse by customers. So the NRF found nearly 3/4 of merchants are now charging for at least one mail-in return option. Stores like TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Macy's, JCPenney are now charging anywhere from $8 to $12 to make your returns. That is noteworthy. They say fraud, a big part of the shift. They're saying 9% of all returns are fraudulent, 9%. And that's why more retailers are turning to tools like AI to try to help spot it, including services like Happy Returns. That's a UPS-owned company that helps verify items and just keep the process moving.
The increase of online shopping, you see more attempts to defraud merchants, and that's where we come in, right? Taking a look at items when they get dropped off at the return bar to try to verify them, and then doing that extra layer of protection here in our return hubs, using artificial intelligence to take a look at pictures and compare the items that are being dropped off with the items that are being with the items that were purchased.
All right, well, there you have it. If you have those returns to make, again, this is blowing my mind. Marshalls, Macy's, and JCPenney among those charging $8 to $12 to make those returns this year. So definitely worth keeping in mind as you do that. Still ahead for you this morning, President Trump is sharing some more details about what appears to be another U.S. strike in Venezuela. So we'll have the latest on that coming up in just a few minutes. Glad to have you with us here on this stream. Let's get you caught up on some of the national stories that we have our eye on today. A report by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, of course, we're talking about HUD, recently revealed billions in taxpayer funds that went to questionable rental assistance recipients under former President Joe Biden. So those recipients included about 30,000 deceased tenants, is what this report is saying, and thousands of potential non-citizens that were receiving these funds. So HUD officials told the New York Post that a, quote, large concentration of the funds went to New York, California, also to Washington, D.C., with deceased recipients getting funds in all 50 states. So here's what HUD Secretary Scott Turner said in a statement provided to the Post. I'm going to read this. He says a massive abuse of taxpayer dollars not only occurred under President Biden's watch, but was effectively incentivized by his administration's failure to implement strong financial controls, resulting in billions worth of potential improper payments. So he went on to say that HUD will continue investigating this. They're shocked, he says, by what was found here. But something to keep in mind, under fiscal year 2024, HUD distributed about $50 billion in federal rental assistance to non-federal entities, including $5.8 billion of what the report describes as, quote, questionable payments. $5.8 billion. So HUD pointed the finger at the Biden administration for a directive to, quote, push funding out the door with minimal oversight. Fox News has reached out to former HUD Secretary Marcia Fudge for comment. Hasn't heard back just yet. So a lot of money that we're talking about that's not accounted for currently. Meanwhile, data from a key global capital and analytics company is showing that how harsh 2025 was when it comes to so many companies filing for bankruptcy. So they're saying it's about 717 U.S. companies went bankrupt in 2025 through November. That's about a 14% jump over last year, and that's the highest number since 2010. So the data says U.S. bankruptcies are reaching levels that we haven't seen since the Great Recession of 2007 to 2009. Key firms that went under in 2025. You'll remember hearing about this: genetics company 23andMe, pharmacy chain Rite Aid among those two, restaurant chain Hooters, Spirit Airlines on that list as well. So the ones that got hit the hardest here, the largest portions of new bankruptcy filings were manufacturing, construction, and transportation sectors that got hit the hardest. Well, American workers at the bottom of the pay scale are expected to see the minimum wage rise in 19 states. That's effective New Year's Day, while 3 other states are planning on increases later in the year. So 20 states are actually opting to leave their minimum wage where it is, $7.25 an hour. The majority, though, have set higher minimums, which may be periodically adjusted to account for inflation. So minimum wage helps support workers at the lower end of the pay scale. Critics are saying that higher minimum wage levels increase costs for businesses and can suppress job growth as firms look to automate tasks that could otherwise be done by those lower wage workers. If you're wondering about Georgia, though, not one of those states, not one of those 19 states that should see the minimum wage go up in 2026. But there is some news. If you're looking for a job, there may be a new way to help you find one of those. People are using what's called love apps to try to help them find a job. And it's pretty interesting how this all works and how many people are doing this. So they're saying that a survey from resumebuilder.com is saying about a third of dating app users are now actually using an app to try to help them find a job. They're saying dating matchups often produce opportunities to meet someone and get tips about just where to find a job and who's hiring. Popular dating apps being used to network include Tinder, Bumble, Facebook Dating is on that list too. And they're using these because they're saying that traditional job-seeking sites like maybe LinkedIn, well, there's lots of job seekers that are on those. And so they're trying to find ways to sidestep their competition, get a leg up to try to get in for an interview. A survey says that for those using dating apps for job seeking, this is significant. 43% gained mentorship or career advice, 39% ended up getting an interview, and 37% received a job offer. So certainly something to using one of those dating apps to try to find a job. Pretty interesting there. Well, U.S. Southern Command struck another alleged drug boat in the Eastern Pacific, making this the 30th strike since September 2nd. U.S. officials are saying 2 men were killed in this strike. So Fox's Madeline Rivera is joining us now from Washington with more on what we know about this strike.
The Trump administration has not backed down from what it says is an anti-drug trafficking campaign, despite questions over whether these boat strikes are legal. Now it's taken another action in what can be seen as a major escalation against Venezuela. The U.S. has conducted most of its operation in international waters, from targeting boats that they say are carrying drugs to seizing oil tankers. But it appears the U.S. has carried out the first known land strike in Venezuela. The president giving more details about something he first mentioned last week in a radio interview, saying they hit a facility where ships come from.
There was a major explosion in the dock area where they load the boats up with drugs. They load the boats up with drugs. So we hit all the boats, and now we hit the area. It's the implementation area. That's where they implement, and that is no longer around.
The president did not say whether the strike was conducted by the military or the CIA. The Pentagon referred our questions to the White House. Meantime, the president is also continuing his tough talk against Hamas, one of the issues he and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu covered in their meeting yesterday.
We talked about Hamas, and we talked about disarmament. And they're going to be given a very short period of time to disarm, and we'll see how that works out. Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner will be in charge of that from our side. But if they don't disarm, as they agreed to do, they agreed to it, and then they'll be held to pay.
President Trump is also not ruling out more military action against Iran. Netanyahu is reportedly concerned Iran may be ramping up production of its ballistic missile program.
We know exactly where they're going, what they're doing, and I hope they're not doing it because we don't want to waste the fuel on a B-2. It's a 37-hour trip both ways.
Despite the warning, President Trump says he would be open to bilateral talks with Tehran. In Washington, Mallory Rivera, Fox News.
Well, Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro may be going down in 2026. It's all thanks to some horn blowing, some rattle shaking, and some fire burning and chanting. So have to tell you about this story. So a group of shamans gathered on the beach near Lima, Peru on Monday, and they made predictions for future events in their annual ritual of seeking guidance from the spiritual world, they say, on the shakeout of 2026. So here's one of the things that they're saying about it. They foretold that Venezuela's president, Nicolas Maduro, will be removed from office under the influence of President Trump. This is coming from them. They also predicted that other global conflicts like the war in Ukraine will continue in 2026. They're saying natural disasters like earthquakes and climate phenomena will still plague the earth, so we can expect some trouble in 2026 as far as that's concerned. So if you're wondering how accurate these predictions actually are, it's a mixed bag. Last year, they warned of a nuclear war between Israel and Gaza. But in 2023, they did get this one. They correctly predicted the death of former Peruvian President Alberto Fujimori, who was imprisoned for human rights offenses. So a mixed bag on the accuracy, but very interesting that these are the predictions that are coming from them. There you have it. That's what's going to happen, according to them, in 2026. One thing we do know for sure, though, and something that we are expecting, the Georgia Bulldogs are in New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl. They're planning to face the Ole Miss Rebels at the Superdome. So we're going to break it all down for you next. Bulldogs are locked in ahead of their quarterfinal game in the college football playoff, something we are super excited about. In fact, we're taking a live look right now at the city of New Orleans, and you see the Superdome right there, and that is where it's all going down. The Hogs actually landed there in New Orleans yesterday. Of course, they're going head-to-head against Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl. This is Thursday night. Fox 5 Sports team is already there doing all kinds of things, laying the groundwork for what we can expect for the game. So Myles Garrett and Georgia Chambers are giving us a look at how the team's preparing.
It's felt like go time for a while, but now it feels real.
The Georgia Bulldogs are officially in New Orleans for the big week ahead of the Sugar Bowl, and as we saw players stepping off the plane, they got some beads, they got to rock. We heard some good music. A band was out there really setting the tone for this week.
Yeah, as you just heard Lawson Lucky say, it is go time. Now it becomes real. We are in a playoff quarterfinal game. Obviously, the Dogs were in this game last year against Notre Dame. A lot of circumstances surrounded that one, but things certainly different this time because the guys coming off the plane, you could see how happy they were. Kirby Smart, Glenn Shaman, Mike Bobo, guys who you're used to seeing very stoic, were very excited coming off the plane. As you just mentioned, the band was playing, the vibes were immaculate. Everyone was ready to go for this game.
I'm just ready to get to it. I know I'm trying to have a little fun with my teammates, but at the same time, it's a business trip, and we got business to take care of. New Orleans takes such great pride in this game. It's a lot of history going into it. The Dogs have played in it maybe 12 times. Was that what they said? Second most in any SEC team. So we've had good history here, aside from last year. So we're ready to hopefully change that narrative again.
All season long, the Dogs have dealt with a multitude of different injuries. You saw some guys come off the plane today with some crutches, but for the most part, they are probably the healthiest they have been all season long. And one important note, Georgia, all of last year, the top 4 playoff seeds all lost in round 1. I do think that's going to be a little bit different this year, but the players certainly feel that they are the best that they've been all year.
There's more time to prepare, more time to watch film, get your body right, and I feel like we're as healthy as we've been all year. And you have it. When everyone's healthier, you get a better product on the field. So we've been able to practice faster, practice harder, more physical, and I think that'll help us going into this game. I felt like we came a long way. I feel like the first time we played us, we wasn't at our best. I feel like we've been getting better. Coaches have been coming up with game plans that fit us a lot more, and I feel like we've been executing them, and we've been getting way better.
And Georgia, perhaps one of the biggest storylines of this quarterfinal playoff game is the opponent, the Ole Miss Rebels. The last time this Georgia team played them was in Sanford Stadium back in mid-October. It was a shootout. Georgia had to come from behind and ended up winning that game. It's the only loss right now on Ole Miss's schedule, but their head coach at the time, Lane Kiffin, no longer with this Ole Miss team, now with LSU. But Pete Golding just blew out Tulane in the Louisiana matchup. They're coming in with some momentum.
One thing that hasn't changed from Lane Kiffin to Pete Golding is their high-scoring offense, and that's something that Georgia is definitely looking at stopping come Thursday.
No, it's the same team. It's the same team. They got a different new coach, so it's probably gonna be a little different. But it's the same team, same program, same guys. They got tough guys, so don't let the new head coach thing fool you.
We're standing in the room that Georgia and Ole Miss players will be in for Media Day, so tune into Fox 5. We'll have you covered, all sights and sounds from New Orleans. But Myles, looks like you got to catch up.
Yeah, I got to catch up on the swag right now. Yeah, very clearly. It looks really good on you. But for now, I'm Myles Garrett. She's Georgia Chambers. We'll have you covered all week for Fox 5 Sports.
Very nice. All right, our time now, 11:52, and want to take you live to what we're seeing. If you were watching a little earlier, we told you about those Buddhist monks. They're on a 2,300-mile walk for peace is what they're calling it. The plan right now is for them to make their way to the city of Decatur. But at last we checked, they were trekking through Clayton County. You see, step by step, making this journey, and it looks like there's some folks that have gathered along the route there just to see them and to be a part of what's captured the attention of so many people on social media. Of course, we are covering this as well. So again, their plan today is to make their way to the city of Decatur. There are some implications when it comes to that as far as traffic and some road closures as well. Electric Avenue in Decatur seeing some impacts from that. But you can see our camera a little bit frozen right there, but you can just get an idea, though, of how many folks there in Clayton County have come out to see the monks. This 2,300-mile walk from peace. I believe they started in Texas, and the plan is for them to make their way to Washington, D.C. sometime in February. So there they go. We'll have much more on their trek through Georgia throughout the day. But want to get to what we're calling some beefy headlines, because this really is a series of stories all about beef. Some of them important, though, for you to know about when it comes to your safety here. So you see there an E. coli threat, beef recalled in 6 states. So this is Mountain West Food Group. It's out of Idaho, but it's impacting about 2,800 pounds of raw 90-10 ground beef. They're saying that may be contaminated with E. coli. They're saying if you've got one of these to make sure that you return it to your store. But to give you a little more detail on which specific packages, they're saying Forward Farms grass-fed beef. 16-ounce packages produced December 16th are what you need to be looking for right there. So had a use by, freeze by date of January 13th. Also EST 2083 that's printed there on the side if you take a good look at the picture. So some symptoms of E. coli, just to quickly remind you: stomach cramps, vomiting, bloody stool, fever, dehydration. So some pretty serious impacts here. Again, they're saying if you bought one of these, to make sure that you get it back to the store so that you can get a refund. And something else really interesting, if you felt like there was a time that you were spending a lot for beef, well, yes, that is certainly the case, but some relief could be coming. Prices hit their peak and are expected to soften, but not much pressure pushing them down right now. U.S. should have a little more cattle available in 2026, so that could be one of the reasons that we hopefully will see prices going down. But the cost for beef in particular has been pretty wild for so many Americans here. In fact, it rose by 3.1% year over year, up about 14.7% total. So competition eventually will push those prices back down, which we'd love to see, because yes, we have certainly been paying more when it comes to beef. So I guess you could have different varieties when it comes to bacon. Maybe it's pork, but maybe it's beef, bacon, I don't know. But it's important we talk about this because today is National Bacon Day. This is a good day. It's a time to celebrate the popular breakfast staple, and it's good on burgers. It's good on anything. It's good by itself. A fast food chain is selling junior bacon cheeseburgers for, you ready for this? 1 cent. That's it. Snag the deal. All you have to do is redeem the offer on the Wendy's app. Customers do need to have an account and make a purchase to claim the special offer, but you really can't beat that. In honor of National Bacon Day, Wendy's is offering 1 cent cheeseburgers if you use the app. So certainly something maybe for lunch. You can head there and get a 1 cent burger. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us here on this Tuesday. We've got more news and weather headed your way. Thanks for joining us.